Well, welcome back to another interview, and today it's my pleasure. We have Antonio Cobo from the Cobo and Blazquez law firm in Marbella that has been operating since 1990 in Marbella and really has been always specializing on real estate transactions. So it's a pleasure to be able to have you here in our new office and talk about all the law real estate aspects. Welcome, Antonio.
Thank you, Arthur. It's a pleasure.
Very nice to have you here. Thank you for coming. And funny subject, actually, the other day when we were having dinner, you mentioned to me, which I immediately wanted to bring out, that, well, you've always, you studied law, right, since the beginning.
Yeah.
Your father was a lawyer, a very well-known lawyer in Marbella as well.
Yeah.
And the father of your father, the grandfather, he was a notary.
We continue the family tradition.
And tell me, please, but how did it happen? How did you get into law? Was it something that, you know, it's just, it was like a must and your father said, listen, Antonio, you have to be a lawyer, there's no other chances?
To be honest, they never push.
Uh-huh.
I was never paying attention when they were talking about work. It was for me boring. But then after a few years, you start thinking what to do in the future. You have to decide. And then I saw like probably studying law give you a lot of opportunities, and this career can give you the possibility to start other kind of business or to practice law. So on the end, for me, it was clear that I wanted to continue that tradition, and seems like I did the right thing.
It was the right choice. Yeah. You're enjoying it.
So far, very nice.
I always said that you could have been an amazing real estate agent.
I think I'm not prepared, but who knows in the future.
Because actually what I most like, one of the main things I most like working together is how you have this also sales vision to a deal, even though representing it from the 100% law side.
We try to be conservative, but pragmatic, and try to say the truth always to the client.
Oh, absolutely. So
and it's very important to protect his interest.
Thank you, Antonio. Tell me, please, so speaking about the Marbella real estate market, well, you are doing deals every day. You are in the notary, talking to notaries and other lawyers every day. How are you finding the Marbella real estate market, let's say the last year, and what would be your forecast for this 2023 year?
We have had a very good year, a bit unexpected. We have had not negative, but bad news about the war, the inflation.
Yeah.
There has been like people talking that can be another recession, but to be honest, Marbella is reacting in a very positive side. And each day we can see that there is more people coming, better client, better product, and probably has been one of the best years since I arrived to Marbella.
The 2022?
Yeah, and 2023 it's also in the right direction. January and February we have had very important transaction, and we can see that for the second quarter and third quarter there are also going to happen like decent and important purchase and sale.
Yes, that's a bit of also the feeling we are getting from the January, February. I mean, I heard a lot of more pessimistic comments, let's say around November, stuff like that, quite a lot of them. But as we are now ending February, I see that the general demand, the number of deals, the general interest, the calls on the office, etc., it kind of kept, well, it went down in December, January, but
for 2 weeks
at
Christmas,
exactly,
it's quite normal and common that
take
happens.
their phone off.
Yeah.
But then it sort of still carried quite at a healthy stage in January, going all the way to February.
Yeah.
We closed one of our exclusive listings, Villa Lagoon, which actually you are helping the vendors to represent them.
Great property.
Fantastic property. Yeah. And now as well, what is happening, the last things I see in the newspapers, I'm also getting more, I feel, optimistic information towards the rest of the year. It looks like January, February is setting a sort of push, like in terms of what, we never know, but for the moment, looks good.
Spring always, we have had like a wave of people coming and better weather, much more planes and more holidays.
Yeah, of course. And then
so it's
we go into summer and it's all crazy. So one thing that I wanted to ask you, because it's been a bit controversial, this subject about the wealth tax, which was introduced in 2012, first of all, right?
Yeah.
And it taxed the owners of the properties of assets of over 700,000 euros per owner. Then there was a lot of conversation in terms of possibly cancelling this wealth tax, and I believe it was cancelled last year.
It was at the end of the quarter 2022, Andalusia government decided to cancel the wealth tax in order to attract investor and do it in a way that they feel it's positive and fair for non-resident to pay for something that they are paying in their country and should not be taxable.
Correct, especially because this is a property they own completely abroad as non-residents. And but then we hear news that the Spanish
It's correct. The main government few weeks after decide to call it
a
solidarity
similar
tax on fortune, and they approve that for 2023 and 2024, investor or purchaser who has a real estate asset in Spain, they should be paying for the value that exceeds the 3 million euros.
So they changed the 700,000 to 3 million. They changed the name of the tax. So for some clients, okay, it's great because if you own a property of 2.5 million, fantastic. But for other clients still who own a bigger estate, it's probably not such great news. And in any case, I believe there are ways how to mitigate this tax.
Yeah, we are trying to recommend, if they are buying with the family, to include more than one purchaser, or also to talk to the bank and study if granting a mortgage can be a possibility, because that amount would be tax-free.
For example, you buy a 6 million house, 50% mortgage, 3 million mortgage not taxed, 3 million purchase price not taxed, so you're not paying the tax. And also possibly there are even other ways how to mitigate it, but that's what you need a lawyer for.
Yeah.
But in general, do I believe correct that this tax should be Andalusia government to decide if to implement or not?
For us, it's clear that Andalusia has the competence to decide if this is the right tax to be paid or if can be cancelled.
And since the Spanish government reintroduced this new tax, what is the opinion of the Andalusia government?
I think, or I have seen that they have already appealed, and we are waiting to see the resolution of the court to see how they understand this new introduction.
Okay, so they are kind of trying to possibly go against this decision, maybe, yes? And so could we hope, or what do you think can happen? Do you think
we believe that the common sense of judge will come to the table, and sooner or later this tax will be cancelled again, and then the taxes that has been paid can be claimed back, plus the legal interest. So even if clients decide to be conservative and pay, doesn't mean that they are losing that money, that this is something that probably can be claimed back.
Understood. Well, this is an interesting subject that we will still follow up on.
We will.
Fantastic. And can you please share a bit of your experience after all the years that you've been working? Is there a point that you see that repeats itself, a common mistake throughout all sorts of different transactions, that maybe if the clients would know in advance, it could save them a lot of stress and a lot of time? What would you recommend? Is there something that you can...
Yes, probably when they want to make like a new project inside the property that they have bought, sometimes they try to build something new or change, and at the end they are abroad, they are changing many things that can be with a builder, with interior design, or with certain technician, that if they don't follow up, it's sometimes creating a little bit of trouble, and at the end they regret to make the changes due the consequence of delay. They cannot enjoy the vacation, they don't finish the project as they thought, and they have to start from the beginning, and at the end it's not that easy to make certain changes when you are not involved or living in the country.
True. Funny that you say that. Now that you say it, I also actually think on that back, and it's true because, I mean, generally, a standard real estate transaction in Marbella, if the vendor and buyer reached an agreement and left the deal to the lawyers, it should be more or less straightforward and
Correct.
easy.
At the end, most of the time, we find the way to reach an agreement and try to close for the best of the client and try to move on and make life easier for them.
Yes, and actually, if I make a small parenthesis here and explain a little bit, the real estate transactions in Marbella, well, in Spain in general, are quite very actually easy and not risky and straightforward for the clients compared to many other countries where I hear this. For example, here you don't make transfers to pay to vendors and then you see them in the notary and guess what could have happened in the process. It's very, very straightforward. You come with a banker's draft, which is the same as the physical money in your bank account, and you give it to the vendor. He gives you the keys, you sign, with the notary signs, it all happens. The transfer of the possession of the keys and the transfer of the money is simultaneous, completely with absolutely no risk or any parties
Give
involved.
security to both
Gives full
parties.
security. Then the notary is in charge of taking this document to the land registry and then changing the name of the owner of the land registry, which can take a month or something like that.
Even less.
But that's a technicality. The actual transfer of possession has happened
Automatically when
automatic.
it's deliver the keys and receive the payment.
Correct. And then when you want to do a legal check on a property as well, basically you get a certificate from the land registry called Nota Simple, and that immediately in 1 second gives you all the information you need to know. And well, sometimes when it's more like a brand new villa or that kind of stuff, you want to also check maybe the urbanistic, which can be a bit more delicate
Detailing.
in terms of. But apart from that, it's very, very straightforward.
It is.
But what you said, I agree with you as well from my experience. Clients that get over excited sometimes with a building project, with a big reform, not a developer or a businessman.
They should not be rushing. They should choose the right team.
Yes.
Clear ideas and try to have everything prepared before starting.
Prepared with the right team, yes, because otherwise the reality of the day-to-day, I mean, building is building.
True.
And this can be stressful, especially if you don't do it abroad. So
but
also having maybe a project manager, something that helps. But yeah, those are also, I feel, kind of the more complicated deals.
This is would give a little bit of headache. We try to fix it in a way that settling is the right thing, but sometimes when there is not an agreement, you end up in court, which is not nice, and is something that can delay.
And tell me please, also sometimes clients, for various different reasons, sometimes it's privacy or sometimes how they organize better if they're buying many properties in different countries, they prefer to buy the property through a Spanish company that they open up.
Yeah, especially
Spain,
for investors which are
yeah.
trying to flip a property or maybe rent it, and in the end they want to sell it in the future. So it's happening that they want to participate with other friends or with family members, and in this structure you have a little bit of more freedom inside for past shares in case that you don't want to finish the project, or
several partners, investors, they, for example, do that as well. If you open a Spanish company, you buy an asset to resell, you can also pay 2% transfer tax instead of the 7% standard.
That's
so you
correct.
Save 5% on the transfer taxes.
A big amount on the first payment, and in the future you can roll it to another project. But you have to have very clear ideas about what's the purpose of the invest. If you're going to rent it, or if you're going to sell it, or if you want to use it in the future. So
correct, because then the way you structure the company and how you do it are also different.
Sometimes you can regret about using a company if you are trying to keep it, because it will include or it will involve certain costs that you cannot have it if you use it as an individual.
Because if you put it on a Spanish company, it belongs to the Spanish company, it doesn't belong to you. That's
and
where
in
some
the
clients
selling point of view, you can pay capital gain tax and then dividend tax, and you are paying probably even
which, by
double.
the way, capital tax is 25%.
Yes.
And dividend
19.
tax is 19 for non-residents.
Yes, but sometimes there is a double treaty convention, and depending from where you come from, you can avoid and pay in your
Now we get
country.
into more complicated
Yes,
stuff.
better
Which,
to avoid it.
Yeah, exactly. That's precisely why you need a lawyer as well.
Yeah.
But one second, and how quickly can you open a Spanish company?
It's a simple process.
I-
Could be 2-3 weeks, depending of the structure. If it's people or clients with already NIE, it's 2 weeks. If not, maybe 4 weeks.
Okay. And one more thing as well, that sometimes our clients are surprised because it's not so standard, I think maybe in other countries, but here when a vendor non-resident sells his property, there's a 3% retention. Mandatory by law, which obligates the buyer. He doesn't matter who wants, he doesn't want, he obligates him to deduce 3% from the purchase price and put it in the tax authorities.
Tax authorities want to make sure that they are going to charge the capital gain tax, so this is a way to guarantee that every seller non-resident will pay certain amount. Sometimes can be reimbursed, or sometimes have to be paid on top certain amount.
Yes, so the seller needs to understand that this is not a cost, this is not an expense, it's a retention, and then the tax authorities check if
we will help them to provide all the documents and see if there is a bigger profit or there is no profit, and there is.
So basically, this is just a deposit to guarantee that if the vendor is making profit, so he pays his taxes, because he's non-resident. In theory, he can leave the country and never come back if he doesn't want to. Okay, but if he's not making any profit, let's say he's losing, he will always get the 3% back.
Yes, it takes 6 months, 12 months, but then we have not have seen any case where they challenge to keep it. If there is no profit, it's easy to have it back.
Do you have any advice for someone buying a property in Marbella for the first time?
Maybe they should talk to you and then check a few areas, and once they know and if they see the opportunity, don't wait, because it's true that these days good properties are flying. It's not that easy.
Yeah, true.
And if there is something that is not clear, we will help them to make sure that there is no issue in the future.
Because technically, I mean, I've heard this opinion sometimes that even theoretically you could do a deal as real estate transaction without using the lawyer. It's not obligatory by law.
True.
You must have a notary.
Yeah.
You don't even need a real estate agent, so you you do your own stuff.
We have seen it, but after all, they are coming back to us.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, that in my case, for example, 99% of all transactions are done with the help of lawyers. And myself, even, I bought my apartment with your help.
Yes, and we found certain things that they were unexpected on the day of the notary.
Even on the day of the notary, that's right, yes. Yeah.
Looks like a straightforward deal.
Correct.
And at the last minute, we saw like someone was trying to hide something.
Yes, exactly. Very good point, because precisely that was the perfect example. Everything was going smooth, nice and easy, normal reservation, normal 10%, straightforward. We come to the notary and then it goes boom.
Yeah, we were lucky that the seller on the end was reasonable, and he accepted the mistake of the previous lawyer or advisor. And then
everything was, but I remember massive help from your side on that deal to control. Because even at the end of the day, I mean, even as agents and as well as a lawyer, you end up to a certain extent becoming more like a psychologist for the clients.
Psychology. We don't have.
And you end up more in the kind of negotiating side of the deal.
Trying to explain in a very soft way that probably is better to agree something that end up in a different situation before going to court or delaying the transaction.
Sometimes this side is even more kind of complicated, and that's where really the play of a professional comes in. Not only the side of the documents and everything, but to talk to people.
It's important to explain with a little bit of, in Spanish you say left hand, but
patience, left hand, yes.
But we do our best.
Fantastic. Antonio, well, thank you so much for coming over. It's been amazing to have you here.
Thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure. Thanks for sharing all your experience with us. I hope this also gives some good insights for our dear viewers.
I hope to come back soon.
Of course, absolutely.
You and all the team.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
All the best.
Same here.